was talking about actually gain something other than, again, that isolation onto an avatared Muradin.
Well, we didn't get to talk about it, but Kyocha did receive the MVP award for his Lucio play. Not only having one great escape in the bottom lane very early on, running to the team, but just really good sound barriers for him, some good boops as well to enable kills for the team. Kyocha has been such an interesting force on KSV.
He is, for me, one of the most interesting just histories, period, for competitive players. Because when we talked about the most dominant era that KSV Black actually had, starting with the Spring Global Championship and a little bit with the Super League before that, he was kind of only played like 3 to 4 heroes, and they're all very diverse in play styles, being Abathur, Tassadar, Tracer, Falstad, and that was it. That was his hero pool. And still, they looked as insanely dominant as they did with that play style. Then you see all the adjustments, Rich walks away, the team makes the roster changes, and Kyocha is like, I'll be the man who flexes over to support. It works out, pretty well for a short period of time. Rich comes back, and now it's this unique hybrid of the two, where he's just, I'm a bit of a support, I'm a bit of an Abathur player, once in a while I want to
sometimes
pop out the Tracer. He can do it all. It is insane. It seems like KSV Black is really the only one who has taken the for flex and support mentality and been able to, maybe not to that degree, but actually make any form of flexing beyond one player look good.
Yeah, I feel like when you look at KSV, we would constantly be talking about people like Sake or Kyocha, but it's just that they also have these insane frontliners that are also amazing, right? Like resets Genji, resets Li Ming. Oh, Rich is everything at this point. Tist, pretty much that too. I like his Arthas. It's just like you don't get enough time in a cast to complement every member of KSV. We're going into Draft 2. It's on Sky Temple, chosen by KSV.
Genji was taken off the table for them, so no double reset composition opportunity, which, generally speaking, this is one of the better maps not only for it, but one that they'd be willing to transfer into. Still going to go with the Lucio, high priority, and the pick up the Dahaka for any global threat needed. There it is. Snap Task Tracer, no surprise there. Dignitas still sticking to what they do best here.
But they also get ETC, favoring the Genji ban over the ETC ban for KSV. I wonder if this will come back to bite them. Dignitas has not yet lost a game with ETC at this tournament. They are strong with this hero as well as Tracer and Tassadar.
And even beyond that, looking at how that last game unfolded and seeing the Garrosh being that last slot, I talked about how this is very different than the last Garrosh we ended up seeing out of them. So now knowing that they not only get one of their best heroes for JPL into the front, it's just, for me, the biggest thing is, well, we know we aren't going to kind of see that lackluster, in my opinion, Garrosh selection. Considering how much was given into the Warrior role, it makes sense why they might go into that as one of the few options, but again, it didn't stand out. And so having that ETC with the Task Tracer, I mean, it's just legitimately 3 comforts top to bottom here for Dig. And, might be the reason that they set the score back to even.
Yeah, Dignitas has been doing really well on Sky Temple at this tournament, even being brought there quite a bit by Ballistics. But they also are going to sort of abuse that Genji ban from KSV to focus on Reset's hero pool even more. Reset can play all sorts of heroes, but there are clear ones that he just, for lack of a better term, pops off on, right? He loves his Genji, he loves his Flawless. So let's see what he ends up getting put on. Li Ming is still a possibility here.
I still love the fact that, beyond just that comfort, just the fact that Dignitas is one of the few teams that identify that Korean priority into the, Vala and be willing to address that into the draft itself. Feels a bit like what we saw out of the Tyrael in the series, 2 days ago. But it's going to be Arthas Cassia as the rotation.
Yeah, it's she's been here and there at this event.
Typically, though, I feel like, she's more here whenever the Greymane is the one who's going to get that all-in initiation, and it is now a heavy deterrent, because we talked about the Vala ban, but now picking the Cassias with the assumption that if you want to move in that Greymane, he's going to have a bad time. So interesting adjustment for KSV, one that I feel like they could, Dignitas doesn't necessarily need to opt into, but if you don't, KSV also could pick up a Greymane in this composition and still be very, very satisfied. So pretty cheeky on both sides. KSV responding to what was a clever, if you will, decision from Dig. And so I don't know if that's a big enough deterrent to pull away from the Greymane.
Well, I don't know that Dig would go into Greymane here because the Task Tracer, we're still waiting on Wubby.
Oh, that's a good call.
Zeratul instead.
But let's... a Zeratul Task Tracer Kharazim composition. Talk about full isolation focus and just all-in capability. This is insanely risky from Team Dignitas. The amount of synergy that this composition needs to have to be successful is almost, I feel like I can't name a composition that's like even more intense than this, just because it's so skirmishy and chaotic that the communication is, man, it's gonna be cool to see how Dignitas tries to make this unfold. But then the Brightwing from KSV as the double support, can't help but feel like that was a very, very great pickup for them. Very adaptive to everything we saw from Dig.
Yeah, Brightwing gives Peekaboo for more of the vision, and now they're kind of, well, with Tassadar being gone, it wasn't an opportunity for them, so she'll be able to do that. The point and click polymorph works so well, although you only get one in a team fight when all of a sudden Tracer and Zeratul are barreling down at you, so that's going to be very important for how that's used. But even the Cassia pick, making sure that with Avoidance you've got that physical armor when you're moving, and then the blinds for Tracer. But Zeratul sort of throws a wrench into those plans. As he goes in, he has more of the ability damage. I'm really excited to see how this draft unfolds within the game, because it did really feel like those last picks after the bans were just constantly trying to respond to each other.
I think for Dignitas, the main focus has got to be fully making sure that they get the kill potential with the 7-sided onto the front line, and then just making sure they have so much pressure being applied onto that when we see the Seeker and Dark go in, the Void to make sure all the 4 melees that exist on the side of KSV, because I think that's the biggest thing I've failed to talk about with the Zeratul is there are so many melees that getting big Voids are going to be very high chance, but when you look at if you hit a 5-man Void Prism in this game, how good is that actually going to be?
Well, if you have a Mosh to follow up, pretty good.
Then it'd be amazing. But other than the Mosh Wombo combo, it really is like, okay, you aren't going to kill them immediately after.
Yes.
You don't have the follow-up, and more importantly, their health bars are way too high to be able to make that happen. So it goes, suddenly what you see, the Void is like, okay, you can hit a lot of them. It goes more, this is responsive of isolation on whoever that kill target's going to be, which is why I feel this has to be, just ETC go in, power slide, boop. When they respond, here's the Void. 7-sided has already gotten the kill on the front line, and then Dignitas wins the fight before the Void even drops.
Yeah, you're looking at Sound Barrier and Emerald Wind as follow-ups to try to deal with those Void Wombo combos. But questions I have, is it going to be Mosh Pit? There are quite a few interrupts. So. There's a Boop, there's Polymorph, there is Isolation from Dahaka, but otherwise, you would still think that you would want to have Mosh Pit here. Especially as a way to try to follow up in case everyone thinks that they can go inside of the Void and be safe there.
Yeah, I think that they need that Mosh Pit as a way to be able to deter that, because there is not enough immediate damage outside of the Void itself, right? So you need to make up for that in crowd control. It also accents that isolation opportunities. The solo Mosh is suddenly far more likely to gain any kind of kill for Team Dignitas in this game. But with all this in mind, to be honest, I feel like KSV has got to feel comfortable now seeing that picked up for Dignitas. We're going to have Sake there on Brightwing, Dahaka played by Rich, Kyocha on Lucio, Tist playing the Arthas, and Reset on Cassia.
Down one game in this best of 5, they are Team Dignitas. Snitch playing Tassadar, JPL on ETC, Wubby on that Zeratul Poik on his Tracer, and Zaelia playing Kharazim. We're heading into Game 2 between KSV and Team Dignitas, the grand finals of the Gold Club World Championship. Best of 5 series, KSV leads the charge 1-0.
It's going to be all about these Void Prisons. I talked about the communication that this composition demands out of Team Dignitas, and you talked about the trust that they have in one another, and I feel like all this composition did was reinforce that they are. It doesn't matter Wubby being the new member on the roster. It doesn't matter Poik being the new member on the roster on the Tracer. They are, look at this composition. Those are the highest impact characters that are picked on this team. And the grand finals of the GCWC, it's just
astounding.
Astounding to see that from a team. Just go, you know what? This is why we picked you up. That we have faith in you. Do what you do best.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing for Team Dignitas, and I just checked, and this is the first time that Wubby has played Zeratul at this tournament. So that's some insane trust, but insanely good to see out of this team, and it makes you so excited to see where Team Dignitas will go. Where's the ceiling for this team? They're already in the grand finals of the Gold Club World Championship, and they have been practicing together for a matter of weeks. So impressive.
It very much kind of leaves that lingering question of where does it stop? And I mean, to be honest, if they ended up winning this series, I feel like everybody would go, it doesn't. It is going to take over the world like Europe had seemed to be dabbling in, as we talked about the earlier successes they had here throughout 2017. Sky Temple, though, unfolding. Nobody gaining too much, really. A lot of this is going to come down to time sensitivity over the middle shrine, especially with the skirmishing capabilities. Dignitas loves fighting around mid. Good power slide there from Jay. The threat from Wubby, but not too much damage quite yet. Pulse Bomb goes down. Reset is dead. First Blood Dig.
Brightwing tried to come in and save, but there's no phase shield yet. Not until level 7, and the team Dignitas getting first blood. First blood of this grand finals that they're able to get that first kill. But as you were saying with the temples,
yeah, it's very important that they get the fights around there because of how effective their team is around that skirmishing, the chaos they can enforce here. And around mid is really where that Tracer can be the mosquito that she needs to be. Zeratul very much can be the problem that he also would like to be into this game. And the fact that Dig is not only dominating over mid, consumed a large portion of those shots up in the top. This is an extremely advantageous position to be in on Sky Temple for the first shrine phase.
Yeah, KSV are slowing down this mid as Dahaka claims the rest of top, trying to get that well ahead so he can either continue the contest of this mid, but Poik is going to come in, start to be the mosquito, drops a pulse bomb on Tis that halves his health bar.
JPL eats a Howling Blast. He should have a power slide. Not necessary. Going to throw out the boop. Karzim did end up making the rotation up towards top to get a bit of those shots. As Sake into this 1v1 should be very, very fine. For those who don't know, Brightwing is actually one of the best solo laners in the game, just purely based on the fact that she has such a good passive healing. You really can't get onto her that well, so not surprised to see Wubby struggle there, but KSV was able to turn around these shots pretty handedly. Now Sake coming in, along with Rich there. Over commitment of resources here from KSV.
Yeah, full 5-man commitment. Now struggling to send somebody down in time. They're going to start bringing Lucio down so that he can try to make sure to catch this soak. JPL chasing, knowing that someone needs to come down and get this. Kyochi uses that wall right to get down. This does set up potentially Team Dignitas in a position that they could try to contest the Giants, but not getting their own. KSV making some pretty fast rotations. Dig just moves back and gets their own Giants.
So what do we see happen here over this next shrine phase, or excuse me, this middle game? Because when we normally see the, okay, this is the Merc time, right? This is a standard, okay, you go for Giants. Normally, you'd say Dignitas has the better skirmishing, so that to hyper-focus on this invade, but they very much did not make that rotation. Instead, they're concerned about the pressure onto the bottom front wall. This is something that we see from Ballistics over and over again during this mid-game on Sky Temple, and Dignitas is, I mean, greatly abusing their compositional advantage. Zeratul is going to be nowhere to be found, as this is a 5 versus 4. Drag lands onto JPL. The fend is there. A lot of damage onto Jay. He's going to go down. KSV is fighting back, finding another, or their first kill.
Another perfect sound wave from Kyocha is par for the course to make sure they got that kill. KSV recognized that getting the early Giants for Team Dignitas, there was a chance that they might try to invade that, or at least check it out, and they punish that heavily by taking out JPL. Dignitas, though, getting a lot of damage done, as much as they did with the siege of their Giants, may be enough to force an early stock from Rich from the top lane later on if they try to contest and fight over that temple. We'll have to see. Or if one of the globals can stay up top for a long time, maybe start to put some damage onto that top lane.
The Zeratul is going to go ahead and pick up this night camp with Karzim for Team Dignitas there. But I can't help but feel like Zeratul has been so concerned about this macro play onto the map, and that is only going to get amplified. He, generally speaking, is going to be most successful 1 through 9 with these mid-lane rotations, but it really is, you know, nice pulse bomb from Poik to kind of threaten back. There are a lot of damage. Lucio? Not enough.
Oh, so close, though. Yeah, I wonder if it's just a product of Wubby being the normal side laner for Team Dignitas, having to still fulfill that role. Team Dignitas relies on him to make sure he is effectively going and getting soaked. But now he seems to be getting a little more aggressive, spotted by Sake. Rich is here too.
This is a very predictable rotation, though, from Dignitas because of what Wubby has been doing with that side lane. It is inevitable that they would show way too much interest here towards top. Maybe not too much, but definitely show at least a minimum of 2 to a 3-man rotation. Talking about a 3-man rotation, it's going to be Jay. Power slide immediately there onto a position of Sake after that Brightling teleport.
Brilliant.
Great punishment there from Sake.
So good.
On Sake.
Yeah, on Sake from Dig. They get the punishment. They get the fort. They won't have the temple. KSV has had a lot of focus into getting that. So at least for KSV, they trade out on the forts.
And now Dignitas got the 10 advantage. Can they make something more with it? They try and get the pulse bomb onto reset, but there is enough HP to keep him alive. Wubby, though, you see him flanking. No
Reset.
ping down yet. He gets Seeker in the dark. He goes in. He's got to avoid the keep if he's going to keep himself alive.
Oh, he's being slowed by the 4. Kyocha wants to continue fighting this. Reset is so low from this. Void Prison went down, but Kyocha dodges it. He takes the kill. They're looking for another one. Cassia finally falls, but KSV still chasing Dig back.
Poik has got himself alive, though, and he's got the Tacitar shields from Snitch if they want to get this skirmish. Very aggressive flank there, and, initiative being displayed by Wubby. Bit too optimistic, though, and again, KSV, whenever you end up going a little bit too far, they are the best team in the world, and making sure you end up going down for those mistakes. Very well done. Something that we have to see change here for Dignitas because of the composition and the difficulty. The execution is so hard here with this comp that they cannot have moments like that where we see Wubby on one page and the rest kind of on another.
But we do see the capabilities of many different ways of executing people from KSV's side, right? Poik goes in, drops a Quantum Spike Pulse Bomb, which now you could see the chunking that it did on Cassia, and then Wubby could try to get the finishing kill from that with all of his mobility. They also have the Void Prison possibility. We haven't yet seen if they can get that Void Prison isolation. The last one was used more defensively, but they have 7-sided strike as the follow-up from that, or maybe even the Mosh Pit, even a Force Wall too, to try to control and more of the positioning of KSV. KSV, though, they do have Ball Lightning, and with the Charge Strikes, a lot of ways of being able to punish if Dignitas groups too much with these very mobile and more melee-focused composition.
Well, Gilly, the skirmish composition has to come online right here. This Shrine phase is going to be very, very important on who pulls ahead into this game. And this is what Dignitas' comp, they are great at this point in time when they can get that split. More importantly, they have the opportunity to kind of play around with vision over mid. You see them right now threatening Kyocha, a lot of damage there, but the sound barrier still goes off.
Sound barrier, and now they'll have the face shield too, but 4 people are caught in the mosh pit in the aftermath. The chaos, pure chaos. Team Dignitas execute the Lucio. Wubby's under fire, but he brings down Brightwing too. It's a double kill.
It's a 2-for-1 trade here. The drag lands there onto Zalia. Now he's going to drop. KSV is able to turn this around even after a 4-man mosh pit, a 3-man Void Prison. KSV could not use their hero's Pulse Bomb. Holy cow, Poik ends up getting a pick onto Cassia, but KSV could not control their heroes for about 10 seconds and still is able to trade near even with Dignitas.
That was a purely insane brawl between those two teams. The setup with the Pulse Bomb going in, nearly killing Kyocha, but then he gets the sound barrier off. Let's watch it again.
I mean, JPL, this was such a clean mosh
so good
after the teleport goes in. But look at Wubby's timing on the Void, and it's near perfect, leaving the 2 kill targets with Brightwing there to be able to focus down. I mean, he accepts his fate at that point in time, and we see it drop. But then, I mean, look at how is KSV able to turn this around? That is ridiculous. They didn't even get Emerald Wind off.
No, I think it was stunned out. The stock in was so unfortunate. Now watching that again, Rich stalked right into a dance party. That's not what you want to happen. But Dignitas doing far better this game than in Game 2, and that's a good sign for the series overall.
Shots are going to lock down middle and bottom fort here for Team Dignitas. Rich out of position here. He's going to get the break and teleport. That's a misplay by Sake. He's going to interrupt his own Emerald Wind there with the nice use of the ice block. That was going to be, I'm actually really happy to see him end up going with that decision there because it would have led to 1 dead Brightwing. Snitch out of position, dimensional shift, here comes a boop.
Look at Kyocha's positioning though. Fend from that. Snitch is going to delay as long as he can, but in the end, he will fall. Even using the Ball Lightning from that, the KSV get through Team Dignitas' attempts to catch them off guard, and now they head for a quick boss.
So this is a really cool situation. Dignitas, if they abuse the Zeratul ETC situation on stalling out this boss long enough and kind of voiding and keeping them there, Dignitas might be the team trading up over these structures, but it seems like they were a little bit too late to the party. Howling Blast even sniffing out Wubby, and so boss will be picked up here uncontested by Team Dignitas. But they get that damage up towards top.
Pretty confident of KSV to send back their globals there, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, they very much were not assuming that anybody on Team Dignitas were willing to risk that kind of rotation. And generally speaking, I think that would have been fair until you look at the Mosh Pit and Void and how effective those two can be on their own.
Yeah.
So it got scary there, but Dignitas was not in a position to be able to punish. They will, though, if they get the 16 talents here and move past this boss, which I assume has got to be the thought process here for Dig.
Yeah, KSV, even against that, still willing to siege alongside this boss for now. Feeling pretty confident they have the 4 giants and the boss, so whatever damage they can put onto this keep just elevates the possibility that they're able to get the keep down and take out the first keep of the game. They do bring it down before Team Dignitas gets 16 just before. Now can KSV retreat? They have the Lucio trying to speed them away. They are separated as they head out to the Death Bridge, but they will get by just fine.
KSV making sure that this next Shrine phase is not on different footing, that they have the same talents here is, I mean, it is a huge win over this next skirmish because of how well Dignitas has been able to use the chaos of the composition. Wubby trying to hunt down Sake. That is a 1v1 he can win very effectively now at the later stages again, especially post 16. He's going to find it. He's going in.
He is going in. Brightwing in trouble, in danger. We're not sure. There it is.
Point.
Emerald Win.
He got hit by them. We'll win the drag.
Team recalls back Void Prison to make sure that he can get away.
KSV, though, that was just enough to make sure that that was a now losing trade for Dig. The fact that they had to drop the Void just to keep Poik alive. Poik's missed. Oh, but Sake under a lot of pressure there. Polymorph immediate. Wubby is able to get the teleport out, but the track down from Kyocha. They see the damage is there, the heal.
Wubby!
Oh my goodness. This kid is ridiculous.
He even had Bull Lightning, but teleported out of that with the blink. It gets away from that. KSV have now used all their heroic abilities except for Army of the Dead, and there is still a mosh possibility for Team Dignitas around this temple.
Snitch is low. Gonna get the Radiant Dash from Zalia, help with that mobility out of here. Let rest of the shots look like they're going to be forfeited for at least in about 10 seconds as Dignitas sending Poik to top. Both Tacitore and Karzim looking for the tap through mid, maybe look to reinitiate back, but Zeratil's shown himself on bottom, and KSV, they understand that this is going to be a 4 versus 5. Very optimistic positioning and decision-making here for Dignitas, knowing that they're displaying a weakness but trying to force the fight.
Yeah, they've drawn down the Bruisers with the KSV showing up in the top. KSV can't get an opening here. Wubby's still in the bottom. Has not even started stepping up here.
KSV, show again.
Force
Drag
wall.
hits, but that force wall saving Snitch very well placed.
So good. Team Dignitas and KSV in a very, very close Game 2 of the Grand Finals, the Gold Club World Championship. We've got a pause, a brief respite from all the action that has been happening. Man, the team fights have been incredible so far in this game. A lot of adaptation on the fly, improv from these teams, especially in that last fight.
Dignitas has Ignite Camp pushing up on top. Really good rotations here. Tacitore did end up showing himself. And this is now, this is a great position for Dignitas to be in, just based on the fact that they have the opportunity to get that huge Mosh 7-sided force wall. Very territorial spells. They go in number 1. Mosh Pits gets interrupted. Void Prison goes down. 7-sided is there. Pulse Bomb will get the kill on Cassia.
Yeah.
Emerald Wind whiffs.
Yeah, Emerald Wind not in time to save after the Pulse Bomb, but Wubby goes down too. It's a 1-for-1 for KSV. They're trying to pull back into the Void Prison, but with the sound barrier and the Emerald Wind being used while Reset had the Pulse Bomb on and was inside Void Prison, it's just a little bit too early for them to be able to save Reset, but making sure to get the counter kill on Zeratil. And that is a long cooldown timer where there won't be Void Prison for Team Dignitas.
Normally, I'd look at that situation and be like, that could have been, you know, a winning trade for Team Dignitas, but based on the fact that it was 1-for-1 and the Void, and Void now being 20-second longer cooldown than everyone that cost on the side of KSV, there's no situation where when Wubby comes back, you look at that and go, this is now even, based on the fact that that skirmish was taken, the Void was used, and Dignitas only had 1 kill to call for their own, as they lost 1 for their own team.
Did Mosh get put on a 10-second cooldown? I didn't see.
It got immediately interrupted at the
really
attempt onto
good.
the choke, and then the Void went down, and so we never saw the Mosh Pit rebuttal afterwards. But now that Wubby is back online, the Shrine up in 8 seconds, there is still going to be a 23-second time gap between this Shrine and that Void Prison.
Drag, but now that Zalia has Cleanse, that's not quite so scary for KSV, or for Team Dignitas. Temple phase up. KSV making sure to stay as split as they can for the threat of Mosh Pit, the threat of Void Prison that'll soon be up.
Eye is controlled by Dig. Typically something you would see a team try and make happen. Look at that drag onto Poik. He ends up getting the recall out. Emerald Wind goes down. We see so much damage there onto JPL, and he is just going to be turned into beef here. Wubby not able to make it out any farther. Post bomb goes on Kyocha. He is dead. Good night, man. That was so cleverly done, but Poik is now able to turn this around for this team.
He does, but with a polymorph there, Tassadar can't get away. KSV takes a second kill. There's a boss up, there's 2 temples up, and KSV with a man advantage at this point. There have been a lot of overlap of the Emerald Wind, the sound barrier for KSV, just not like panic, but just like we have to save as Team Dignitas comes in, and they are... It seems so chaotic for them, and yet every time they're able to refocus themselves in the fight and make sure that they get the kill when somebody presents themselves. That time happened to be JPL.
That gives Dignitas, though, so much, or excuse me, KSV so much onto this map at this point, Gilly. I mean, these shots on top, not only do they secure that 20, it's about to be a triple keep advantage. Boss seems like the only hope remaining here for Team Dignitas, and so they're still waiting. Well, it looks like they're not waiting for Tassadar, and this is maybe enough time window to where Zeratul can dismount Cassia and all those people in transition. Oh, unless Rich gets a brush stock here. Very well done. KSV not willing to risk anything at this point in time.
Yeah, and it's not just a Rich, it's a Sake with an Emerald Wind that's ready for this fight. Team Dignitas do not have 20. Storm Talons are here for KSV. So let's see if Dig can even get back to this point now. KSV just aren't going to let this boss go.
Dignitas actually intentionally giving up this boss. Continuous wins being used. That might come back to really bite KSV, because Dignitas showed with Wubby only staying in mid for 2 waves in a row, they want 20 and they're going to defend on core. And honestly, with a Mosh Void composition, you might be able to. It is still very improbable, but you may be able to make this happen.
Yeah, Sake only has the ice block now. If he becomes the target, it's going to be difficult to keep him alive, but with the boss and no keep here, KSV has a strong push. There goes the power slide. Gonna knock back now to Void Prison behind is grouping up KSV immensely. They have to use the sound barrier, and they bring down Zeratul before he even gets the chance to Void.
But Death Metal!
Death Metal!
Death Metal! Xalia goes in, he's punching him to death. He ends up getting back-to-back 2 kills, but there's no Void for the core anymore, Gilly. There is no CC to lock down KSV. 17-minute boss has made it to the core. Shielding's gonna be removed, and that is it here. KSV takes Sky Temple and takes the lead 2-0.
Core continues to fall as KSV loses Lucio too, but still with Tist and the boss should be able to do this. As it's now at 10%, yes, KSV takes out Team Dignitas Game 2 on Sky Temple. 1 game away from being the Gold Club World Championship champions.
Huge shout out to Sake at that last team fight. Through the entire game, it